No need to let's get back into the immersion. No need to beat around the bush. The new player experience in retail WoW is an intergalactic disaster. Holy shit. The newest expansion, The War Within, is now out and widely praised. Not according to my YouTube comments. Woke nonsense. Yeah, there's a black person in the game. Have you ever seen a black person in reality? Outrageous. Outrageous. This is nonsense. Nonsense. No. Just like fictional fucking people. Unbelievable. Outrageous. You know what Chris did? So, we don't like moderating our YouTube channel, right? Like, if people disagree with me, I don't really care. Like, that's good for me. Perspective is all good. But we were getting flooded with woke and disability attacks, anti-trans attacks with Wooklamat, all sorts of stuff. And Chris was like, dude, I'm having to delete like 100 really hateful comments per video, like regularly. He's constantly after going through it all the time. So you know what he did? He added woke and something else to the blacklisted words. And he was like, okay, and that solved like so much of it. It's like, it's just done. He just added those like 2 terms to the blacklisted words. And he was like, oh, it's fine now. It's sorted. Woke and DEI. There you go. Chris added woke and DEI to the blacklisted terms. He was like, oh, that's better. Oh, breathe nice. Breathe nice. DEI. I'm not even sure what it stands for, I'll be honest, but it's about hiring. It's the hiring of other ethnicities and genders to fulfill targets. Oh, here we go. Lawmaster Chris is on the case.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion. All I know is that Pixie was a DEI hire for the teams. Yeah.
Basically, people just say DEI when they want to say a more offensive word.
Well, I reckon it's because woke has lost all meaning. Yeah. So, like, now woke doesn't mean anything. They've come up with DEI instead. Yeah. Like, so we're just going to keep getting these continuous terms of abbreviations to kind of, like, fill in gaps, right? You know what I mean? It's just like, oh, shit, this one's lost all its relevance. Like, cringe. And now we need another one to replace it, so keep it going. But what if I talk about Wokpan? Equality, not equity? I don't fucking know, man. Whatever. Something to suggest that it should all be white males or white women. And anything outside of that is clearly some sort of agenda. It's an agenda. It's outrageous. Let's go. It's an intergalactic disaster. WoW is out. WoW will never be the giant it was in the 2000s again. Never say never. But the player base is happier than they've been in a long time. Revitalized by Dragonflight's excellent new movement mechanics and the narrative momentum of the brand new 3 expansions of the World Soul Saga. I would love to tell you about any of that, but I can't. Oh, here we go. World of Warcraft in 2024 is a game that regards people who have not yet played WoW somewhere between begrudging allowance and open contempt. From the opening minutes on the contextless tutorial island... There's context to the island. You crash on a ship while sailing. What do you mean, contextless? What? To hitting level 70 and the grand climax of the Dragonflight expansion, there was not a single moment where I understood what was happening, why I should care, and what the point of any of my decisions were. Now, in defense of this article, I haven't made a new character in forever, so... An older me would have bought a new account and done a fresh playthrough, but I won't do that. The first, most obvious, and most widely documented problem is narrative. The game has 2 full decades of content, lore, and story. The War Within is WoW's 10th expansion pack, and forcing new players to experience hundreds of hours of narrative in largely barren zones of abandoned content, cul-de-sacs, is understandably a barrier to entry they would want to remove. Yes, which is why we've talked about WoW 2 at the end of the World Soul Saga. I don't see it as a super problem, though. The issue is that you don't see anybody else in the zones, but this seems like an application for skippers. Forcing new players to experience hours of narrative in large barren zones. I mean, you can buy a boost to bypass all this if you want to, but... is if you play a brand new game, Aren't you going through this, or you would think, is a fresh experience for everybody? Right? Like, if you're saying this is a brand new game for you, your first visit to Orgrimmar, Stormwind, to Westfall, whatever, and then going wherever you want to do. As far as I understand it, and you guys can correct me, if you're a brand new player, like not an alt, but a brand new player, it forces you to go from the island to BFA? Right? And if you make an alt, you can choose which expansion. So now it's Dragonflight. So you go from the island to Dragonflight. So that's not bad, right? Here she is, DEI hire herself. Yeah, is that bad? Dragonflight's story is pretty cohesive. It's not that long. It's got lots of features and fun. Yeah? I think that's relatively fine. That sounds fine to me. And then you go to the War Within without any knowledge of what happens in Shadowlands. That would be the bit you miss. So the regular question we've had with people who've not played since Shadowlands, who have come back for the War Within, is what do you need to know? And you do kind of want to know the Anduin's trauma and stuff, because 100% if you're a new player, Anduin just looks like this complete sad sack. He's just moping around, not knowing what's going on. The pre-expansion cutscenes try and fill in the gaps, but much like Destiny, it won't make much sense to you. It's like, who's this guy? Why does this guy who looks like fucking Sauron, why does this guy matter? So I totally get that aspect of it, but I wouldn't say you're going to play hundreds of hours of largely barren zones going through Dragonflight. I don't think that's true at all. In fact, I would say that's an objective lie. Correct? You're going to go straight to Dragonflight, where you're not going to spend hundreds of hours doing Dragonflight. You're going to be picking up dragon riding. You're going to be doing all kinds of stuff. So I think that's just a blatant lie. Anyway. Yet the approach taken is akin to defeating the infection by cutting off the leg, and also both arms. Exile's Reach, the tutorial island, tells you how to play the game well enough, but introduces you to a cast of throwaway characters that in no way help to provide context to the world and your role in it. And then it's off to the latest expansion. That's not true. Being addressed as a champion of Azeroth by characters you've never met before. Okay, that can be very disjointing. Agree with that. It's very familiar with you. As new and shocking revelations have come to light. The Dragon Isles have returned. Oh, that's good. I didn't even know they were sick. Okay, I will throw WoW a bone here without being a biased Andy. They correct in what they're saying is you have no context for what's going on. But if you join a game with 20 years age, are you going in on the understanding that you've probably missed a bit? But I have to say, similar to what I experienced in Destiny 2, where it tried to fast forward to the story, one of my complaints was, I have no idea what the fuck is going on whatsoever. So, from that perspective, it's absolutely true. It's like, I don't know what the fuck is going on here. I have no idea. This is a lot of games to catch up on. Honestly, getting into MMOs that have been out for a long time is one of the most difficult things ever. Would it make sense? Would it be a worthwhile investment, do you think, that every time a new expansion comes out, the tutorial experience for new players changes? To introduce... They spend some time building a new tutorial zone that has some of these characters in it doing something to lead you in to what's going on. It's a lot of effort and a lot of cost to do that. Like, what is your... It's like whether or not it would result in a lot of new players doing stuff. I got back into Destiny 2 recently and I had to watch about 6 hours of YouTube content. Yeah. People were trying to get me to watch that fucking video that was like 6 or 8 hours long or some shit to understand what was happening in Destiny. They're not wrong. It would be nice to have context for this. And yes, it is weird that you are suddenly the champion, right? I mean, there's a reason in 14 they're like, we're not letting you skip the story. Because otherwise our game doesn't make any sense. Like, Yoshi P has been pretty adamant about that. It's like, we're not letting you skip the story. Yes, it's long. We think it's good. You also kind of need it to understand our game. So we're going to do it. 14's is better, though. Narratively short. It's a lot better for players to go through. I mean, arguably, a lot of people fail. If you were to look at 14, I would bet the ratio of people who make it past the Realm Reborn is pretty low. like actually reach Heavensward of brand new players without the encouragement and stick with itness of friends telling you to do it, and it's going to get better trust. ARR is no doubt. I think if you make it to Heavensward, you're more than likely in for the ride. But getting past the Realm Reborn is tough. I can talk from our limited circle of people who've tried it, like Fingal, Crusher, Kenny. All those people never made it past the Realm Reborn. They were like, this is too much. Don't forget Square revamped the low level. Yeah, they did. It's still not great. ARR killed it for you. Yeah, I quit ARR. Friends had to drag me kicking and screaming back on for Heavensward. Yeah. ARR post-patch. It is full despair. It's story. It's still got a lot of filler, and you don't get any experience for it. You just feel like you're stuck in the mud waiting for this to be over.
It's tough. In the case of WoW, do you think there is a viable solution, like, other than playing those old expansions?
There is, but it's a big cost that they would have to gamble, is this worth it, which is to revamp the starter experience every time to bring you up to date. So you would essentially... What you would need to do is like, okay, what do we need to know for the War Within and Dragonflight to make sense? Right? You would need to know that information, and you would have to somehow work those characters into a tutorial experience. Like, the best solution would be actually Crommy. If they change the tutorial experience to Crommy, and it's like you awaken or you do whatever, and then she takes you on a sort of like... The tutorial is actually going through the portals like we had for the pre-War Within event.
Yeah.
And you go through 5 portals or whatever, and each one is a very encapsulated meeting of these players and reliving what happened to them that's relevant to the game going forward.
I could see that, right? So if we were to use kind of the Shadowlands example, let's say, it would involve you doing a very quick summoning to the afterlife.
You would play the Sylvanas cutscene to start it, with her cracking the skull, and then you would have a very, very abridged version of Anduin has been taken over by the soul, and now like Sylvanas has turned against the Horde. And you're like, and now she's gone to the Maw, so you know that, right? She's banished to the Maw, and the Shadowlands has been sealed, and you're like, okay. And you would have some Anduin being controlled and attacking Uther and things like that. You would have all that shit in there, and then you would come out of that, and then you would have something to do with the dragons and Razageth. You're reliving it. Like we do a load of times in WoW, is you relive these moments, right?
Yeah, like, you'd ideally want to have it into like an encapsulated... I don't know, 30 minutes to 1 hour experience.
It's got 2 purposes. One to fill you on the story, and one to teach you how gameplay works. So for this expansion, I would say you needed something with Anduin in Shadowlands and where Sylvanas is, because she's going to be coming back.
Yep.
Illyria gets taken care of in the pre-patch, so you don't need to do that.
Yep.
You need to do something with who the fuck is Magni Bronzebeard?
Well, so you kind of... this is, I suppose, the thing, because you keep adding stuff, is you need to at least explain a little bit of the context of BFA, because you have to kind of explain about Azeroth and the sword.
Oh, yeah. So the sword is definitely relevant. So you'd have to do BFA and the sword, and in that way you could introduce Jaina, so you know who Jaina is. Like, because you have to look at it from the perspective of, like, Jaina Proudmoore to me is somebody I have never heard of in my entire life, let alone Anduin Rin or Varian Rin. I don't know who any of these people are. So you need, like... I would almost do the memories as the history of those characters.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
So who are your 5 primary... characters? Like, who is Khadgar? Who is the fuck is this guy? And when he dies at the beginning of the War Within, you're like, why should I care that this fucking old brown-robed man died?
Thrall, you need him.
You could maybe get away without Thrall yet, but you should know who Thrall is.
I mean, even just to say, he used to be War Chief, then he wasn't, now he's back.
Then he was bald, then he had a baby.
Then he was really thin, now he's very wide.
Now he's been on the protein bars. Yeah, like, if you pick 5 characters, and within them you could have sub-characters. Like, Thrall, you could kind of mix in with Jaina.
Yeah.
Those two could go hand in hand, right? Of, like, they've been together and done loads of shit together. Like, you don't need to explain who Garrosh is, at least we don't think so.
No, I think anything before BFA probably isn't now relevant.
Yeah, Rathian is explained a little bit in the Hallowfall story, if you bother to do it. But... it's, you kind of want to meet these along the way. So that could be part of Anduin's section, would involve Rathian in some way. Right? So their side memory that you find out about Anduin's journey is that he had this dragon friend, Rathian, and a little bit of...
a dragon roommate, if you will.
Yeah, a dragon roommate with Rathian, you can mix them in that way, but you want 5 central characters. Each one serves two purposes. One, who is this main central character? We need to know who they are for the current expansion in Dragonflight. Because you need to, you'd also have to include the aspects. Can you do Dragonflight without knowing who fucking Alexstrasza is?
Oh yeah, because they're going to play through Dragonflight, right? So,
yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. So you'd have to give at least some basic summary of who the aspects are. You're probably going to have to explain a little bit about what the Titans are. Like, it is kind of...
I don't know what the Titans are. I genuinely have no idea.
You know a bit about what the Titans are.
I have no idea.
You've done...
I can tell you now, I am not memeing, I'm not exaggerating. The Titans, from what I know, are big rock men who are the first things that lived on Azeroth and created life on there. And it went wrong, which is why we fight, what's-his-face at the end of Ulduar. And I know that's the knowledge I have from there, is like the Titans seeded the planet, and life, as we know it on Azeroth, is actually a mistake. And that's why...
Well, that's correct. That bit's right. Yeah, I mean, there are nuggets of correct information.
That's what I know of the Titan. But
yeah.
I want to be clear. It's not because of, like, some thicko. It's like I ignore all the story because I didn't like it.
Never into it, which is
and all I know is literally the dialogue that comes from bosses. Because that's what my focus in WoW has always been, is the bosses. So when the bosses have big dialogue, that's when I hear about some of these characters.
Yeah. What I would say, though, I mean, we talk about resources being kind of the big issue here. If you're making like a separate zone and stuff, sure, but I think if you're having like a Chromie intro scenario, you're really going to just be going through the existing map.
Well, what I would do to avoid wasted resources, same as what Guild Wars 2 has just done. These are the 5 that are relevant for Dragonflight going into the War Within. And remember, if you have to play through Dragonflight, if some character is dealt with in Dragonflight, you don't need to do a scenario for them.
Yeah,
because
that's
going to be part of that expansion. So whatever you
do have to account for the fact that when they go through Dragonflight, they're not going to be doing the end game experience.
No, they're not. I mean, I think you have to play through the campaign, but probably not. As soon as I assume as soon as you level, you can go to the War Within.
Probably.
So the likelihood is, if you make a new character now, do you cap midway through the last zone or even before that?
Yeah, probably before you've even done Razageth. Which is why, actually, I mean, I've said this, they should do this for every expansion eventually, is I think they should kind of take those raids and make a streamlined follow-a-dungeon style experience that people can solo once it's old content.
Do you know what makes more sense from a resource point of view? Is a Chromie Hall of Memories, which you could put in the Cavern of Time.
Yeah.
And instead of this, like, we have to revamp it every expansion, is they create mini scenarios that update you on the story that are evergreen. Because they're all about evergreen these days.
Yeah.
So, and that way you're just like, okay, we've made this to summarize. Because Dragonflight needs a summary. You kind of need to know who Viranoth is. You kind of need to know who Iridikron is. Because that's going to be relevant.
Iridikron's definitely coming back, right?
So right, so...
You need to know, and you need to know that they went to this, they went back in time to get this Dark Heart, which, because Xal'atath is actively using it during this expansion. It's kind of an important plot element. Right.
So, and you wouldn't hit that, I don't think. If you were a new player now, you wouldn't even meet Iridikron, I don't think.
No, because you wouldn't do any of that stuff, because that doesn't happen until the raid, so you wouldn't even know.
Yeah, so for each expansion, when you're coming to the end and you're making the new expansion, you make a scenario that is the abridged summary of the story that you relive in a simple way, with followers maybe. So you do have a mini raid fight against Razageth, you have a mini raid fight against whoever, and then it finishes with Farak, and you get story elements in between there, about 20 minutes, something like that.
You've obviously got cutscenes, which you can play already. Those are already in the game.
And you have the choice. They already have that as well. It's like, do you want to watch the cutscene? Because we made cool cutscenes. Yeah. And then that's the one that they can use for new players. Like, it's made for the current players to catch up and get ready, who come back just before. That would make more sense. And then they're evergreen. You can use them there. Will this scenario have rewards? Knowledge. Knowledge is its own reward.
This is the point, Triple, right? I mean, you say it's a story nobody cares about, but this is something they want to change, right? You have to kind of make that step. Is if you want to change that, Blizzard has to be proactive and say, okay, how do we make people care about this story? Mm-hmm. That's all you can do, right?
Nobody will do it. I don't think that's true. I think I would do it. I would actually totally do it. It would be a one-off thing to catch up with the story. But if you can utilize that for all new players going forward forever, because you can go back and do it. So you've got literally a Caverns of Time that's full of portals. That's like, it just says Dragonflight.
Yeah.
It just says the Burning Crusade. It just says Wrath of the Lich King. and it's all there, and you can go through and play it. And that way you can go down and do it. You can add rewards because it's World of Warcraft, a fucking, you know, historian title or some fucking shit. Whatever. But I don't think that's a complete waste of resources. I in fact think if they put that in and they literally had, I don't really know what the story of Vanilla WoW is.
Well, there wasn't really a story of Vanilla WoW. I mean, one of the reasons that Vanilla WoW worked is it was more like little vignette stories in each zone, just with kind of it was like a world story, not.
Yeah, if you've never heard of Illidan, you would want to know what happened in the Burning Crusade.
Yeah.
You would want to know what happened with his with Legion, because Illidan's coming back, because Metzen said it in an interview, right? Yeah. Illidan is coming back.
Which we all knew was
we all knew was going to happen, but he's been through such an arc where you go back to Maiev, whatever she's called. You need to go back, you need to know what happened in the Black Temple. You also need to know what happened in Legion. You need to know all those things. So I don't think it's a bad idea. You know, they'd have to do a cost analysis, but I don't think it's a super bad idea for Blizzard to be like, let's make a Caverns of Time section, which gives you an abridged story of the important characters of each expansion. Mm-hmm. And you can go and play through it at your leisure. We can use it for new players. We can do all those things.
I agree. I think having that, and especially a way to incorporate the end game parts of the story, because they're so much more important now. Like, when you think about it, most of what happens in an expansion happens after you cap, in terms of narrative. So you can't really ignore that from a Chromie time.
It's like you could skip all the post-MSQ.
Yeah.
So what is the start of the MSQ for Dragonflight? It's really just the aspects establishing the return to the Dragon Isles.
The Oath Stones is what you do during the...
Yeah, the Oath Stones. Alex Raza starts her Kresh. Kalex all moody up in the Azure place.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, you've got all that shit going on. And I imagine, so people a new player going from Dragonflight to the War Within would be like, oh, the aspects, they wouldn't even know the aspects have their powers back.
Well, that is what happens during the main story, so that's what the Oathstone stuff is.
Is that before they start the stuff, is that up to the first raid?
So that goes up basically to the first raid, so you're dealing with Razageth during the main campaign, and it kind of ends before you go into Vault of the Incarnates. That's where the main leveling story happens.
Yeah. I'm getting confused listening, because you don't know the story, exactly. So with our system of abridged story content, it's all good.
But, so if we think about, the power technically happens in a Methuzahla, I suppose.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
but you think about what happens, right? So you go to Vault of the Incarnates, you release the Incarnates, you go to the Mega Dungeon, and get the Dark Heart, and Iridicron goes by. You have Aberrus and the Shadow Flame. You have Amyrdrasil, the reborn Emerald Dream Tree, the founding of Belemeth, and all that stuff happens all afterwards.
That's what I mean. A new player would never touch any of that.
Yeah,
A
exactly.
new player would never get even close to any of that context. And then it's like, oh, Iridicron's back. Okay. Great. Yeah. Start giving Blizz ideas. I just think it's... If they're going to shift to a narrative focus, because they can also market this better. They can make an abridged version of Shadowlands that makes sense.
Fuck me, could you imagine if it was like...
They can! If they are very choosy about what they pull out...
Yeah, I mean...
They could actually make an abridged version of Shadowlands that... Question. I have a question for you guys. I don't think you could do this. After you cap, you can't go back and play through the expansion story, like... from the beginning, right? You can't say, I want to go on a TBC experience.
You can do Chromie time, I think.
After you've capped?
I think so.
Can you do that?
Can you do that?
I don't think you can. I don't think there's a place where you can go to say, I want to go and play through Shadowlands.
You'd have to make an ult, which obviously is not hard. But...
It's not hard, but that would be something people might want to do. If you make... Because I can imagine a total marketing scam where you make a Shadowlands scenario to bring you up to date with like, oh shit, the fucking sky cracked. Oh my fucking god, this is mad. This is crazy, right? The fucking Torghast is here. What the fuck?
Well, you get to go into Torghast, but you only get to do it once. Could you imagine?
Yeah, a giant mega vampire man's here now. Like, what the fuck? And you're like, that expansion looks sick. And then you get the choice to go back and play it.
And what we can do is entirely skip the first one's stuff.
Yeah, and then
we just ignore that.
You just don't get to play it.
And don't put it in the game. That's what we would
do. Send the new players to Torghast. Yes!
Yeah, it's fine, because Torghast is fine if you do it once. Right? It's only when you do it every week that it was bad. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
All FF really needs to do is just streamline ARR, really.
Yeah, FF just needs to streamline ARR more. The annoying thing, especially with angry people at the minute, is that WoW has fantastic stories, but they aren't in game, they're in books. Yeah, we talked about that a while. I said to Chris, I don't mind books and novels that add context to something that happened in the past, but if it's regarding the current plot and story, it should be in the game every single time. Why is Emma continuously messaging me? Wow. Okay. Anyway, let's see where else this goes. At least this has sparked some discussion. I like it. It's not just that you're skipped into the 9th chapter of an ongoing story with no warning, but that story itself was never written with the intention of being an onboarding point. Dense with unexplained proper nouns and hey, it's that guy cheer moments. The plot itself is so simple it's almost insulting. Oh no, evil has returned. We need to gather the primary coloured orbs to restore hope, or darkness will win. But then there is an extended sequence where you're hanging out with a data recreation of a character who died in Wrath of the Lich King, and it becomes genuinely difficult to know as a new player when you do and do not have the context to understand what's being discussed in any given moment. It's impossible to divine which particular dragons are new and which ones have been iconic fixtures in WoW lore since 2002. The story that has had a lot of time, effort, and production budget behind it ultimately all congeals into a static, very rarely breaking through with earnest moments that rise above the noise. That's correct. I actually think this is totally correct. My personal favourite was a digression to a village of Tuskar. Little walrus friends who are just adorable hanging out in their frozen village. Their short contribution to the main story has you burning a funeral pyre for the recently deceased chief, and for a newcomer at least, it is far and away the strongest moment in Dragonflight's main story. Just the right mix of quiet, charming, melancholy, and with absolutely no sense that I felt like I was missing something. But it's not just the story. Anyone starting WoW today know that they aren't going to follow what's happening. Personally, I think if you want to play through the game in order, Blizzard should at least make it easier for you to optionally do so rather than be completely impossible. But there's far more fundamental problem, the level scaling. Level scaling and the level squish were implemented for the exact reason that you skip straight to a recent expansion now. The game is just too big, and with much like the narrative, they achieved their aims to the letter. To compare it to 14, which contends with similar hurdles for similar reasons, but finds itself on the other side of the fence, 14 stretches its ability to roll out for 6 expansions and 90 levels. So unless you're deathly efficient, it's going to be at least 150 hours and 150 hours? Rookie numbers. And 4 expansions before you have an enjoyable and challenging rotation. Okay, I'm not sure. There's a lot of hyperbole in this. Despite earlier content staying in the duty finder permanently, on the other hand, WoW has you playing your spec to a baseline level of complexity within a matter of hours, which is an exponential improvement in approachability. Maybe it was a right choice. Maybe this was the right choice. And all it cost was the total destruction of the entire game's world, reducing its sense of identity into an unending sludge of pure content. It's hard to exaggerate how destructive this single decision is. Every enemy from 1 to 70 takes basically the same time to kill, unless you forget to upgrade your gear and fall behind the curve. There is no pushing harder into higher level content to test your luck, no stomping the early zones that used to give you so much trouble, no difficulty peaks or valleys that gives zones a sense of unique identity, no reason to explore whatsoever. There's more than enough XP to go around, and none of the gear you find in the world is going to come close to what you can find in dungeons. And under no circumstances will there be any partying up in this multiplayer game. Just follow the markers, make the number go up. Line go up? It doesn't do anything but make it all go up the same. It's a choice that feels insulting to everyone who works so hard on the rest of the game. The world is simply designed with too much care and intentionality in its layout, art, and even the flow of its questing zones to be rendered this meaningless. It's like a game that has annoyed you for having the audacity to play. See, that's the hyperbole that's not necessary. This is a difficult choice that all MMOs, at least the top tier... I mean, I'm kind of glad this discussion's come up, because it's really what we talked about recently in our Changing Faces of MMOs video, is which way do you go with this? On the one hand, you could go the FF14 route. It's robust, but it takes a long time to get where you're going to go because they stuck to their guns, they're happy with what they made. The other hand, which is a more combat-focused way, which is World of Warcraft, is to accelerate you up to current day so you can play with your friends quicker, but it has drawbacks. There's pros and cons every single step of the way as to what is the correct choice. I suppose one way you could play this but it would be a complete resource hog and unnecessary, is that the player gets to choose, right? So you complete something like Exile's Reach in current context, and then you get some sort of choice. Do you want to play through this canonically in order? So you essentially start with, like, you go through vanilla, TBC, blah, 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 blah. Or do you want to do the accelerated version? And I would guess, even in how hard that would be to implement, most people would choose the accelerated version. I kind of suspect that's what would happen, is most people would choose the accelerated version and try and get to... I don't know many people who start World of Warcraft who don't want to get to endgame as fast as humanly possible and don't give a shit about anything else. How am I getting weaker the more I level up? Yeah, it's a weird disparity that I don't super think should exist in leveling zones. There was something cool back in the day about going back to a zone that you struggled with. I remember I struggled a lot in Red Ridge Mountains on my first time playing through WoW, because there was, like, some elites running around. There was these, like, alphas that kept wandering around that were, like, stealthed, and they would regularly kill me on my very first character. And then I came back, like, 10 levels later, and they were grey, and I just eradicated them. And that felt really cool. That did feel really cool. It's like, you motherfuckers that cost me so much. Yeah, level scaling is... It was a solution they came out with in Legion, I believe. Because they wanted you to play any zone in any order. Like, in theory, it made sense, because they wanted to spread those server loads, right? So they were like, you can play any zone in any order you want, and the game will scale up as you go. And the other thing they had to... The alternative that they did in WoD, which is a design that's gone now, is that they didn't have level scaling. So what they had to do is create these extra areas, which they've been doing since the Burning Crusade, and a little bit in vanilla as well, that was super high level zones that are areas of the zone that were locked off until you were level capped, and then you could do things. So like TBC, they put them high above the ground, so you needed a flying mount to get to them. In WoD, they basically surrounded them in mountains, so you wouldn't be able to get there until later on, or it was clearly a weird zone you were going into. And that meant that a part of the map was useless. Again, pros and cons. I'll be honest. Considering how quick it is to level to the level cap these days, I don't give a shit about scaling. I just think it's such a brief period of time that you're in that leveling curve that I think it's a fair trade to have a world that at endgame is totally playable. And once the level scaling stops, which it doesn't cap, then you do overgear things in World of Warcraft astronomically quickly. Like, the open world becomes a joke. Because you don't like leveling? No, I don't. And I like exploring, I like finding new zones, and then I want to get on with the stuff after that. I like content cadence rather than filling an experience bar. I absolutely prefer that in every single level. I don't give a shit about filling an arbitrary bar that somebody's typed a number into to say you can get another level at that point. I don't give a shit. I care more about the 99.9% of my time I'll spend playing this game after level cap, not the 0.5% or whatever that I'll spend in the leveling curve of the game. I don't care about that too much. The question is, why leveling is there at all if it's just a bar to work on? I would argue in the War Within, leveling almost doesn't practically have much of an effect of anything. You naturally get experience, and most of the... and the way it currently works is once you finish the campaign, it unlocks the end game for you anyway, besides the level 80 dungeons. Like, all your renowned stuff opens up, the world quests open up. You get them all at, like, level 66, 67. You get all the end game stuff. Like, the levels itself are there as some sort of metric for gear requirements more than anything. Like, yeah, but questing doesn't stop, right? Yeah. It's like a 4-hour tutorial. Kind of, yeah. The War Within levels are somewhat irrelevant. You're naturally going to get them, which I think is the ideal. Like, just playing through the game is naturally going to get them for you. I think so. I think it's just to give a steady progression and an idea of where you should go. Yeah. You're done fighting gods, so you struggle with a pack of wolves. I mean, you have to take yourself out of that. You have to suspend your disbelief on that, otherwise it's not a game anymore. I mean, ultimately, it's still a game. The lore can't overwrite it being a game, right? That doesn't make any sense. That would just not be a fun experience for everybody. People want to play a game where they power up and they get stronger and they get new things. I like the War Within leveling. I like that I finished the campaign at 67 or 77 or whatever. And it just opened up everything for me. At that point, I could start working on my renown, and I could ignore my experience bar completely. I could do whatever I wanted. I can carry on questing. I could start working on my reputations. I could do dungeons. I could do whatever the fuck I want to do as if I'm playing endgame. The only thing that was missing was 4 of the level 80 dungeons. That was it. And obviously the gear you're acquiring is not the level 80 base version. Either way, so the game is annoyed at you. And the audacity to play it, to want to stop and smell the roses, do literally anything but sprint to the seasonal endgame grind. Also known as the point in an MMO where I stop playing until the next patch. This isn't even getting into the smaller things. The reliance on add-ons is out of control, with basic features such as proper controller support and decent quest UI left entirely to volunteers. The servers matter. I joined one marked new players and spent the whole time slightly concerned that I'd made a huge mistake. Yeah, I kept running into other players from other realms. The issue isn't whether I had, but that I didn't even understand the boundaries of the choice I'd made in the first place. For want of a better word, it feels shoddy. It feels cheap and roughly hewn. A Jenga tower comprising 20 years of features incrementally implemented as stacked on top of each other, threatening to collapse at any moment. I mean, that's literally what we put in our video, describing this. I think I literally built a Jenga tower, Chris. I think I literally built a Jenga tower out of Lego bricks to show like the foundations and stuff on top. But it's not wrong, but it's also a natural situation with 20 years of fucking additional content in an MMO that is everlasting. Yes. Control support works fine. Yeah, I don't know what that is about, but it is what it is. The base UI is much better. I don't think it's utterly reliant. Lots of people have actually been mocking me for using UI stuff because they all play with the standard UI. That's been a pretty regular thing in the chat that's been going on. So I don't agree with everything here. There's a nugget of truth in most things that are said here. But I think it's strange to say it feels like a game that's been going for 20 years with lots of additions. Yeah. I can tell you why. It's a game that's been going for 20 years and has lots of additions to it. Because it's a game that's been going for 20 fucking years, dude. And it's not a game that works just like CS on its base design and just keeps going. It's an MMO. However, I will say this. The one thing that you best believe worked perfectly and at no point was I ever confused about is its functionality and purpose was the in-game store. It is what it is. Steering the ship this large takes time, and many of these problems can't be solved but merely balanced between two competing tensions. But the fact remains that WoW is, while not the industry-defining juggernaut it once was, still one of the biggest games in the world. Yet neither Activision nor Microsoft have yet been able to allocate the resources it needs to be something that a new player won't rightfully throw away in a couple of hours to play literally anything. Why have you filled it with such nonsense? This is clearly not true. I assume just to annoy people or to get clicks. It's just so unnecessary. Yeah, it's just such unnecessary padding to try and get reaction. It's so sad. I'm going to stick with it. Oh, so it's not true then. When the game is good, it's exhilarating. I've not found tab target combat this good elsewhere. True. But forcing myself to push through to the other side is something I've done. How long does it take you to do Dragonflight? Who's done it on a fresh alt? How long does it take you to go through Dragonflight on a brand new character? Yeah, a few hours. I mean, making it seem like they got through... I can't remember what the name of the first zone is in Dragonflight, but to say you only played for a couple of hours. Let's say you're a brand new player. You go through Exile's Reach, which is, what, 45 minutes to an hour for a brand new player. And then you spent 1 hour in Dragonflight, where you had a whole new weird and wonderful zone and dragons flying around, and you learned dragon flying, the new thing to mess around with. And by that, you were like, I'm done with this game. That's just not true. That is just mental. I totally disagree. You're still, like, playing around with new classes. There's loads of flashy spells you're unlocking. You're getting all these kind of cool things to mess around with. I can imagine it being overwhelming, but not a drudge. I don't think that's accurate. There's a new expansion out, and everyone's having a great time. I want to play WoW. I just wish it wanted me to play it too. No, okay. Jackson, I consider your article full of unnecessary, exaggerated hyperbole, which seems to be the internet in general. But at the same time, there is some things they could do to make it better. For sure. 100%. I would really like abridged versions of the story. I honestly think something like that would be amazing for someone like me who has paid no attention to the story whatsoever in the last 18 years, 20 years of this game, and would actually kind of like to go back and have a refresher to understand what's happening with certain things. Okay, what was the details that happened here? Like, I certainly, because I haven't, like, paid that much attention, I can't really remember what happened with Illidan. He went to space.